Me Too went viral 5 years ago as millions of people around the world courageously shared their stories publicly of sexual violence and harassment, as well as messages of solidarity and calls for accountability and change. But the movement really began in 2006. Its founder, Tarana Burke, has dedicated her life toward the mission of empowering survivors through empathy, community, and healing. Joining me now is Tarana Burke, the founder of the Me Too movement and the author of Unbound, My Story of Liberation and the Birth of Me Too. My friend, thank you for coming back to talk to us, as you have done with me and my viewers for many, many years. You have often made the point to me that this is not about sex. It's about power. And the important message to people like me who hold that power in society is to acknowledge it, to see it, and to try and relinquish it or even the playing field. And I want your evaluation of how much of that has happened in the last 5 years.
Well, I think people at least are hearing that this is a movement and this is a issue that's about power and privilege. And that, those of us who have power and privilege, our job is to use it in service of people who have less power and less privilege. I think that message, at the very least, is getting through more and more. Now, how much of it is happening is hard to say.
Right.
That's hard to measure. We don't see it happening in the upper echelons as much as it should. But I do think that at least people are understanding that this is not an issue that's about sex or desire. It is definitely about people who hold power and privilege and institutions that hold power and privilege.
Have you got a sense of what that should look like for those of us who hold power and privilege? This is not one of those things where you can just decide you're on the right side of it, right? Because many of us thought we were on the right side of it before October 15, 2017. And then you realize you live in this world in which you perpetuate it without sometimes knowing that you're perpetuating it. So what does the what does it actively look like to say, I got it, I need to share it, I need to fix the system?
I mean, a lot of it is about self-analysis. If you're an individual, right? On an individual level, once you know better, you do better. So if it was about money, you see a lot of times these billionaires who are relinquishing their money when they
right.
know I have all of this money and this money is a symbol of power. So I release the power. If you are a man who has a lot of privilege, you've seen maybe workshops where you have men who don't talk over women when you're in a meeting. When you're in a work situation and you are aware of your privilege, you need to be constantly aware of that privilege and the way it plays out in the workplace, the way it plays out in the home, in the church and other institutions, and be conscious of that at all times. And I think it's when you lose consciousness of that and you know that it's giving you the edge and you know that you have people who are vulnerable around you or have less privilege around you and you take advantage of that is when it's the problem. So it's about having some self-awareness. But the other part is that when you have power in an institution, or in any kind of place, corporation or institution, and you can undo that power. So that's about changing policies. Mm-hmm. That's about changing laws. Those are other ways that we can undo that. And the third way is it's cultural change, right? And I think that's one of the biggest ways. Rape culture, which we don't talk often enough about, is what creates the space for violence to happen. All of us can change rape culture, right? All of us play a part in upholding rape culture. So that's about what kind of things do you listen to? What kind of jokes are you taking part in? What kind of television shows are you watching? What kind of music are you listening to? What kind of just environments are you allowing to happen around you? And, we need to do things like codify consent. We need a unified definition of consent that we teach our children, that we socialize our children to have. So everybody's coming up with a universal understanding of that. Those are the kind of things that shift culture so that we have a different culture that we're growing up in, so that people understand, privilege and power differently from very young ages.
There's so many people in this country, many of them are men, who say, I never raped anybody. I never sexually harassed anybody. This just seems like a blame game. It's gone too far. You and I have been talking for 5 years about this. You've never wanted it to be a men versus women thing. You don't think that's the solution?
It's not the solution. If tomorrow morning every single man changed and said was different, it would not stop this issue, right? Let me say this also. The first person that many women encounter after experiencing sexual violence is usually another woman. And it's usually another woman who says, what were you wearing? Why were you there? Who heaps all the shame on them, who makes them feel like they should feel guilty, right? So it's not just about men being different. It's about us shifting our understanding of sexual violence. It's about shifting culture. It's about, all of us really practice misogyny. Patriarchy has us all in a death grip, right? And so it's just not about men being different. It's about culture being different. This is not a gender war. The problem is that men really do hold a lot of power, right? Men are really practice misogyny and patriarchy at higher rates than women do, right? And so we really need men to listen. We need them to engage and not feel attacked, but to understand their role. Women are really oftentimes at the most vulnerable end of this. So we come to this and engage in the conversation differently. But it's not that we're not guilty as well. It's just that we engage in this from a different place and a different understanding. This is not an issue that's going to disappear tomorrow if all men change. We all have to change and we all have a role to play. But it's not a gender war. Right? This is a social justice issue. Yep. This is a public health issue, and we have to embrace it and address it like that.
Thank you for all you've done, my friend, for the last 15 years and before that. And thank you for helping me and our audience understand this as well as you do. And you've always done so in a way that can't and won't put anybody's back up. Not that you don't have a right to, but you have done it in a way that has made it very accessible and approachable. And we always appreciate you. So thank you. Tarana Burke is the founder of the Me Too movement and the author of Unbound, My Story of Liberation and the Birth of the Me Too movement.